Doctor on a summer holiday. No more worries for me or you for a week or two.
Hello, good morning and welcome to your Tuesday this morning. It's official. We could be going on a summer holiday.
Well, we didn't have time to change the lyrics to "We're all going on a summer staycation," so which is a possibility.
We can definitely do a summer staycation, can't we?
Yeah.
That's a definite.
Yeah. For the moment, 5
but
weeks in between
will we get on
everything,
a plane?
but yeah.
But, I mean, is that possible? Who knows? After the Prime Minister's conference yesterday, we now know the roadmap to getting life back to normal, which hopefully finishes on the 21st of June. What are you going to do first?
I just want someone to sit in the garden.
Well, you can do that before, though.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Oh,
hopefully.
Yes. I've written it all down. It's all down on a chalkboard. Yeah. What you're allowed to do.
It's a Monday. The first thing I'm going to do is hug you. I might lick your face.
On the 21st of June, you're going to lick my face.
If I do, yeah.
Can you imagine how weird it is going to be? I'm assuming then, because obviously within the building and ITV, we've got our own sort of rules to make sure we're all safe. So assuming that we follow suit with our roadmap, that means I could actually pick this up and come and sit over there.
I know.
That will be the truest sign after all we've all been through together since last March, staying on the air, holding on by our fingernails, and it's still happening now, obviously, with Dancing on Ice on a Sunday, all holding on by our fingernails, incredible crews, putting the show on air when they can. That means that for the first time, maybe that will be the sign that life is coming back to normal for me when I can pick my chair up and come over there.
Definitely.
We'll see.
Soon. It's happening, guys.
First, it was confirmed yesterday by the Prime Minister that the much-anticipated roadmap out of lockdown will begin in the coming weeks and hopefully culminate on the final step, Monday the 21st of June, when I'm coming to you to hug you.
The vaccines reduce the danger of COVID, they save lives, and they keep people out of hospital, which means that we're now travelling on a one-way road to freedom. And I know there are some who would like to accelerate the timetable. And I know, of course, there are others who would like to be more cautious and stay in the slow lane. But also, we must accept that we cannot persist indefinitely with restrictions that have separated families and loved ones for too long. There is light ahead, leading us to a spring and a summer, which I think will be seasons of hope, looking and feeling incomparably better for us all, and from which we will not go back.
Oh, we won't go back. That's a lovely thought, isn't it? There's lots to discuss, and we're joined now by Alice Beer as well as Simon Calder. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Alice, let's start with you first of all then, because there's these 4 stages of sort of unlocking lockdown, if you like. The most important one, well, the first one we hit is schools going back.
Absolutely. The government have been adamant about this, that we have to get children back to face-to-face education. And we know that Scotland and Wales have already started to do a staged comeback, but March the 8th is the day that all parents in England will be focusing on, the day when all school-age children will be back in classroom to face-to-face teaching. Yes, they will have to wear masks in classrooms and in corridors.
Is that secondary?
And there will be testing.
Primary as well?
Primary and secondary, sorry, masks for secondary, but all primary and secondary education will be back in class, which is great. All secondary school children will be wearing masks in the corridors and the classrooms. And they'll be testing regularly. I received emails yesterday from both my children's schools saying about the testing procedure. So it's going to be different, but my children will be with their classmates, and that is important.
I can't wait.
Oh, and their teachers.
Yeah. And so I can go and sit in a park on a bench and have a coffee with one other person?
Absolutely, March the 8th for that as well. I think we may, as a nation, have sort of slightly jumped to this already, but judging by the London parks at the weekend. But March the 8th is a day where you do not have to be exercising in order to meet up with somebody else outside. You can sit on a bench and have a hot chocolate or a coffee.
Is this just local, or can I sort of drive down and see my mum and go for a sit
March
on the
the 8th, we are still under the staying close to home.
I see.
That doesn't move until later on in March. 29th of March is when the official lockdown stay-at-home order is lifted.
And that's when you can, that's the rule of 6 is back again.
Then March the 29th is also the rule of 6. Sorry, April the 12th is when the rule of 6 outside happens.
No, it's
29th of March. Oh, gosh, now, you see, this is where the road starts going all bonkers.
It is
29th of March is when you can meet up with two households
yeah.
or 6 people from different households
outside yeah.
which is going to be great. And we mustn't overplay this. As the Prime Minister keeps saying, you know, this is about the data, not the dates, and we're all focusing on these dates and what happens on this date and this date. It's going to change if the data dictates that, and that's really important that we don't get fixated and overexcited.
You can't help with human beings. We need contact. We need people. We need the village around us.
Yep.
So I think it's been made fairly clear that it won't be any earlier because we have to have these 5 weeks to see how, what each stage means, which is a shame because the vaccination programme is sort of best in the world. It's quite extraordinary. What is important to a lot of people watching, we've discussed this so much, is care homes. Oh,
absolutely. And that is the 8th of March. Now, it's not straightforward because on the 8th of March, or from the 8th of March, there will be one nominated visitor allowed to go in and visit a relative. They will have to have a test, they will have to wear full PPE, but there will be minimum contact allowed. So I can't even believe I'm sitting here saying this. You'll be allowed to hold the hand of your relative or friend.
But you're allowed to. My understanding is you're allowed to help feed them. You're allowed to help change them if they need changing.
Yes.
You have had your test.
Yeah.
They have had their vaccine.
Hopefully, yep.
So in which case, why the hell can't you hug them?
I know, it seems bizarre, but I think they're just being overcautious because it was care homes that really suffered first time round. So, you know, I don't know quite how they're going to restrict this. If someone goes to give their grandma a great big hug, what are they going to do? Pull them off them? I don't know. But hand-holding is thought to be the acceptable thing, and that's very precious.
Last summer, a lot of people were moving their weddings forward by a year. So this kind of big date of the 21st of June, they'll be thinking, hang on a minute, does that mean weddings are all go?
21st of June is go nuts day, really, probably.
At the moment.
But at the moment, absolutely. Now, weddings are one of the things, just by the very nature of the celebration, they are creeping forward in stages much slower than other life events and a funeral, where it's obviously much more sober. There's not so much booze. There's not so much embracing and partying. Weddings are parties and are deemed to be such, really. So the 8th of March, 6 people only to attend a wedding. By the 12th of April, 15 people. So our goddaughter who's getting married on the 24th of April, no, we as godparents, we can't go to her wedding. Only 15 people allowed. 17th of May, key day, 30 people. That becomes more of a ceremony. And that's the day that socially you're allowed to see people outside 30 people. That's a great day. And as you say, 21st of June, that's when all limits should be off for outdoor, for weddings and ceremonies and nightclubs and partying, in theory.
The full list is available. We've sort of touched some of the various bits and pieces, and that is sort of quite widely available online now. And it's just nice to be able to talk about some of these positive things. But Beverly, we've got Beverly Turner now, who's going to chat through this. Do you think is this the right speed? Too fast? Too slow?
What was the point of vaccinating all these vulnerable people? In a couple of weeks, we will have vaccinated the top 4 tiers who are accountable for 88% of those who die. What was the point of that if we still have to wait another 3 months before we can get together in significant numbers? When you listen to, Alice just summed that up so beautifully and with such detail, so that it is now, at least we have a certain clarity. We do have clarity, which is what we've been asking the government for in terms of a roadmap out. But they still haven't answered the why. And it is the power of because in these situations which will motivate people to stay on board. If we have vaccinated all of those people who are going to die, then what are we now doing? Is this just about reducing infections? Is that the world we're living in? Is that where we're going to live? So a world in which nobody can catch this coronavirus and then what? The next coronavirus? And is it flu? There still are too many questions unanswered for me. And I just think until we have a much clearer idea of what the point is, I'm not pinning my hopes on any of these particular goalposts being there when we get around to these dates that Alice has.
But
has
if the country's been vaccinated, and as we keep saying, and you've got to look at the positive here. You know, there are times when there have been terrible mistakes made that have cost lives. However, we are pretty much leading the world here. And so, if we've been vaccinated, then there will come a point where we'll go, no, sorry. We've been locked in for a year now, over a year. Or you get to June the 21st. If there's any hint of any issue down the line, sorry, we're vaccinated now, so no.
Absolutely, Phil. And you've been really clear on this. So all the times that we've talked about it is you've said categorically, I will get my vaccine, I will do what is my social duty as you see it, and then you will live your life. That's not what we're now saying. They've changed the goalposts. There are some huge questions to be answered about what our future is going to look like. And that is what I think the reason they're dragging this out for another 3-4 months is because there are things which are being put in place which we are going to have to suck up whether we like it or not. And that is going to be vaccine passports and what that means, because that is a very it is a social change that we have to be very cognizant of what that is going to mean. And I know it sounds a bit trite. Well, I'll get on an aeroplane because I'll have on my phone whether I've had a coronavirus vaccine. This isn't going to be just about that. This is going to be a very close connection between state and individual and big pharma. And I'm not talking about conspiracy theories. This is logical now. This is where this is going to end. This is about our personal freedoms. It is about our liberties. And when we're being told, well, you can hold your old person's hand with our permission, that tells you how far we've come in a year, that we're happy to accept that. And I think, actually, you're right. The majority of the population is no longer happy to accept that. Okay. We have been patient.
All right,
we've seen our businesses bankrupt.
Let's get Alice to jump in.
I want to hug my parents as much as the next person, but I acknowledge that it takes 4 weeks for the data to catch up with what our behaviour is doing. And if it takes 4 weeks and then you give a week's notice, hence the 5 weeks, I am quite happy, having come this far, to hold on and take each stage at a time, because I do not want to go backwards. I don't think emotionally, for my mental health, I could go backwards on the road that we've just travelled.
Can we just go to Simon Calder now? Because obviously travel is in the forefront of lots of people's minds. People were looking at Easter. I think people thought, really, actually, by Easter, we might be able to get away for an Easter holiday. What does Easter look like?
Well, actually, if you're in Wales, it doesn't look at all bad. You've got the extraordinary situation of people being told by the Welsh First Minister, yes, it's going to be feasible, possibly. We hope to have self-contained accommodation. I've just actually been speaking to one of the big companies out running coastal hotels and self-catering accommodation. They say, yeah, we're still hoping for Easter. What you're not going to find is anything in England that's open, because we've been told that's actually going to be the 12th of April. And similarly, you're also not going to find anything happening in Scotland until we know what's going on there. March the 1st is the date in Northern Ireland. We'll be told what is happening. But the big day, if you don't have access to a caravan, to self-catering accommodation, then the big day is actually the 17th of May. That's whether you're going to go on holiday in the UK, or sorry, in England, or go abroad.
So
and I've just been in touch.
Have you booked a holiday now? I mean, you're the man who's always going somewhere.
Well, look, at the moment, of course, the sales are going mad for holidays from the 17th of May onwards. But even more importantly, there are thousands and thousands of cancellation messages going out. I've been in touch with TUI, with Jet2, with EasyJet, and they're saying basically we're cancelling everything up until and including the 16th of May. I will be travelling just as soon as I can. And of course, it is possible, given that this is all supposed to be about data, not dates, that it will be possible to travel earlier than that. But the government is warning, no, those are absolutely the earliest dates.
What about summer? I mean, we still don't know if we can travel abroad, say to Europe in the summer, and they're saying by the 21st this is all over. Will we have to quarantine coming back? Do we know what that looks like?
Well, we have exactly no idea, but that's a really important point, Holly, because at the moment, actually things are going to get more tricky going abroad before they get easier, because we're going to have a declaration for travel, anybody planning to leave after the 8th of March. And then coming back in, well, you've got, of course, quarantine, mandatory 10 days, or from some countries, 11 nights in a hotel. You've also got 3 tests that you have to undergo. And if you just want to go for a week to Benidorm, frankly, frankly, you're unlikely to go through that extremely expensive and onerous process. On top of that, the different countries are going to be coming up with various ways of trying to persuade us to go on holiday, but do so safely. And then we got the thorny old question of vaccine passports. Is this going to count for anything? Your coronavirus vaccine certificate, and where does that leave people who haven't yet been jabbed? So many things to decide, but clearly from the evidence in terms of bookings this morning, particularly for August, then also July and September, people are deciding, no, it's all going to be okay.
All right, Simon,
thank you.
Alice, Beverly, thank you very much.